That evening, after the festival, the village gathered around a big fire. The elders told stories, and children danced, their laughter echoing in the night. Adaora and Ekene sat together, watching their kids join in the fun. For a moment, everything felt normal, like nothing had ever gone wrong. Ekene leaned closer to Adaora. Do you remember the first time we came to this festival after we got married? Adaora smiled softly, her heart drifting back to that memory. Yes, I do. We danced until our feet hurt. Ekene giggled. A rare sound those days. You made me dance with you even though I was terrible. Adaora laughed. She laughed wholeheartedly. Not the first ones she had been giving lately. You were terrible, but you tried, and that's what mattered. There was a pause, and then Ekene said, I'm still trying, Adaora. For you, for the kids. Adaora looked at him, her heart aching with both love and fear. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to let go of the hurt and let their family heal completely. But could she? Just when things seemed to be getting better, life threw another challenge their way. Ekene's new job wasn't paying much. Her money was still tight. The children needed new clothes. There were school fees to pay, and food was running low. The stress was beginning to creep back into their home, and Adaora could feel the tension building. One night, after a particularly hard day, Adaora and Ekene got into an argument. It was about something small, money for the children's school books. But it quickly escalated. I'm doing my best, Ekene shouted, his frustration boiling over. You think I don't feel the pressure? You think I don't want to give you and the kids everything? Adaora's voice was shaking, but she stood her ground. It's not about the money, Ekene. It's about being here, about showing up for us no matter how hard things get. The room fell silent after that. Ekene sat down, rubbing his face with his hands. I'm trying, Adaora. I really am. Adaora felt the tears burning in her eyes. I know you are, but it's hard for me to trust you again. It's hard for me to believe things won't fall apart like they did before. Ekene looked up at her, his face filled with regret. I won't let it fall apart again, I promise you. The days after the argument were tense. Adaora and Ekene barely spoke, both lost in their own thoughts. But despite the silence, they still cared for each other. Ekene made sure the children were taken care of, and Adaora cooked dinner every night, even though they were barely exchanged words over the meal. It wasn't until one quiet evening, when the children were asleep, that they finally talked. We can't keep doing this, Adaora said, breaking the silence. I don't want to live like this, always afraid of what might happen next. Ekene nodded, his voice low. I don't either. They sat in the quiet for a long time before Ekene spoke again. I love you, Adaora. I know I have hurt you, and I can't change the past. But I want us to move forward. I want to be better for you, for the kids. I don't want to keep living in the shadow of my mistakes. Adaora looked at him, her heart aching. She knew he was sincere. She could see it in his eyes, the way he had been working so hard to rebuild their life. But was love enough to heal all the pains? "I love you too, Ekene," she said softly, her voice breaking. "But love isn't enough. We have to work together. We have to choose each other every day, even when it's hard." Ekene nodded, his eyes filled with hope. "Then let's choose each other, Adaora. Let's choose love." From that night forward, things started to change between Adaora and Ekene. It wasn't easy. Rebuilding trust never is. But they had made a choice to work on it together. They began talking more, opening up about their fears and hopes for the future. Ekene stopped withdrawing into himself, and Adaora began to soften her walls. There were still moments of doubt, but they were learning to face those doubts side by side. One weekend, Ekene decided to fix up their outhouse. The roof had been leaking for months, and the walls needed a fresh coat of paint. Adaora watched as he worked tirelessly, climbing up the ladder, hammering nails, wiping sweat from his brow. It reminded her of the man she had fallen in love with. The man who took pride in providing for his family, not just with money, but with his presence and care. "I want this house to feel like home again," Ekene said, looking down at her from the ladder. "A place where we can all be happy." Adaora smiled, her heart warming at his words. "It will be, Ekene, it will be." As Ekene and Adaora continued to rebuild their relationship, the children could feel the change. Chike and Amara, who had once sensed the tension between their parents, now seemed lighter, happier. They played more, laughed more, and their home felt filled with love again. One afternoon, while Ekene was still fixing the roof, Chike ran up to him with a bright smile. "Father, can I help?" Ekene laughed and lifted his son up onto the ladder beside him. "Of course, my boy, but be careful, okay?" Adaora watched from the doorway. He felt her heart swelling with pride. Seeing Ekene bond with the children was a reminder of the man she had always known he could be. A loving father, present and engaged. Later that evening, as they sat down for dinner, Amara looked up at her father and asked, "Papa, are you going to leave us again?" The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of the past. Adaora held her breath, waiting for Ekene's response. Ekene's eyes softened as he reached out to hold Amara's hand. "No, Amara, I'm not leaving again. I'm here to stay." Adaora felt a tear slip down her cheek as she watched Ekene reassure their daughter. It was in that moment she realized that despite all the pain they had gone through, their family was healing. Slowly but surely they were becoming whole again. One afternoon, Adora's mother came to visit. Mama had heard about everything, the separation, Ekene's return, and how they were trying to rebuild their marriage. Adaora had always valued her mother's opinion, but she was nervous about what Mama would think. As they sat together, sipping wine, Mama looked at her daughter with wise eyes. Adora, I can see that you have been through a lot, but I can also see that you are stronger because of it. Adora nodded, feeling the weight of her mother's words. It hasn't been easy, Mama. There were times when I didn't know if I could make it. Mama placed a hand on Adora's arm. Marriage is never easy, my daughter. It's full of trials. But if there is love, and if both people are willing to fight for it, then it is worth saving. Adora felt tears prick her eyes. I still love him, Mama. Even after everything, I still love him. Mama smiled gently. Then love him, Adora. But also make sure he loves you the way you deserve. Marriage is not just about enduring. It's about striving together. Later, as Mama prepared to leave, she pulled Ekene aside. You have a good woman, Ekene. Don't let pride ruin what you have. Take care of your family, and they will take care of you. Ekene bowed his head in respect. Yes, Mama. I will. I have learnt my lesson. One day, as Adora was preparing breakfast, Ekene came into the kitchen with a wide smile on his face. I have a surprise for you, he said. Adora raised an eyebrow, curious. What is it? Ekene motioned for her to follow him outside. When they stepped into the yard, she saw it. A small garden that Ekene had been working on in secret. The space was filled with fresh vegetables, herbs, and even a few flowers. I wanted to do something for you, Ekene said, his voice full of pride. I know you have been carrying a lot of load lately, and I wanted to show you that I'm here to share it. Adora was speechless. She walked through the garden, touching the leaves of the plants, overwhelmed with emotion. Ekene, this is beautiful. I didn't know you were working on this. Ekene smiled. I wanted it to be a surprise. I know it's not much, but it's my way of showing you that I'm committed to you, to the kids, to our life together. Adora felt tears welling up in her eyes again, but this time they were tears of joy. It's perfect, she whispered. Thank you. They stood together in the garden, the sun settling behind them, and for the first time in a long time, Adora felt like everything was going to be okay. As the weeks passed, Adora and Ekene continued to grow closer. Their home, once filled with tension and fear, was now a place of peace and laughter. The children were striving, and Adora found herself smiling more often. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, watching the stars, Adora rested her head on Ekene's shoulder. I never thought we would get here, she said softly. Ekene wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Neither did I, he admitted. But I'm glad we did. I'm glad we fought for us. Adora smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. It wasn't that their problems had magically disappeared. Life still had its challenges, but they had learned how to face them together as a team. "I love you," Adaora whispered. Ekene kissed the top of her head. "I love you too, Adaora, more than you would ever know." And in that moment, under the vast sky, they both knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future. As much as Adaora and Ekene had rebuilt their relationship, the scars of the past sometimes reopened. One morning, Adaora received a letter from one old friend who hadn't heard from her in years. This friend had been there during difficult times, when Ekene had left. Reading the letter brought back memories, ones that Adaora thought she had buried. That evening, while Ekene was playing with the children, Adaora sat quietly at the kitchen table, staring at the letter. Her mind wandered back to those lonely nights when she wondered if Ekene would ever return. How she had carried the weight of the family alone. Ekene noticed her silence. "Adaora, is everything okay?" She looked up, forcing a small smile. "I'm fine," she lied, folding the letter and putting it away. But Ekene could sense something was off. Later that night, as they lay in bed, he gently asked again, "Talk to me, Adaora. You have been quiet all evening." Adaora sighed, unsure how to explain the feelings that had resurfaced. "I got a letter today. It was from an old friend who was with me during the time you left." Ekene sat beside her. "Oh, I don't want to go back to that time, Ekene," she said softly. "But sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I still feel the pain of those days." Ekene turned to face her, his voice filled with regret. "I know, Adaora. I hate that I put you through that. I hate that I made you feel like you had to carry everything alone." Adaora closed her eyes, fighting back tears. "I love you, Ekene, but the hurt is still there. It's like a wound that heals but never disappears." Ekene took her hand, squeezing it gently. "I will keep working to make it better, Adaora. I will keep showing you that I'm here, that I'm not going anywhere." For a long time, they lay in silence, holding on to each other. The past was not something they could erase, but together they could continue to heal. Forgiveness is a powerful thing, but it doesn't come easily. Adaora had forgiven Ekene in her heart, but forgiving completely, that took time. It wasn't just about saying the words, but about releasing the pain that had built up inside her. One afternoon, as Adaora was cleaning the house, she found an old photo of her and Ekene from their wedding day. They were young and happy, with bright smiles and eyes full of hope for the future. Looking at the photo, Adaora felt a wave of sadness. How had they gone from that joyful moment to the heartache they had endured? But then she thought about everything they had overcome. Yes, Ekene had left, and yes, it had been incredibly painful. But he had come back. He had chosen to stay and fight for their family. And in the months since he returned, he has shown her time and time again that he was committed. Adaora realized that holding on to the past was only holding her back. She couldn't change what had happened, but she could choose to let go of the hurt. She could choose to fully forgive Ekene and allow them both to move forward. That evening, as they sat together after dinner, Adaora took Ekene's hand. "I have been thinking," she began. Ekene looked at her, concern in his eyes. "About what?" "About forgiveness," Adaora said softly. "I have forgiven you for leaving, but I think I have been holding onto some of the pain. I want to let it go. Ekene, I want to move forward without the past weighing us down." Ekene's eyes softened and he squeezed her hand softly. "Adaora, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm grateful for it. I promise you, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret forgiving me." Adaora smiled through her tears. "I know you will. Ekene, I believe in us." And in that moment, Adaora felt a sense of peace wash over her. The past was behind them, and the future, it was theirs to create. With forgiveness came a renewed sense of purpose in their relationship. Adaora and Ekene began to make time for each other in ways they hadn't before. They would sit together in the evenings, talking about their day, sharing their thoughts, and laughing at old memories. One evening, they decided to take a walk through the village. It had been a while since they had gone for a walk together. Just the two of them. The air was cool and the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the village. As they walked hand in hand, Adaora felt a deep sense of contentment. This was what she had always wanted, to feel connected to her husband, to walk beside him as they navigate life together. "Do you remember the first time we took a walk like this?" Ekene asked, breaking the silence. Adaora smiled. "I do. You were so nervous to hold my hand." Ekene giggled. "I was terrified. I didn't want to mess it up." "You didn't," Adaora said, squeezing his hand gently. "You got it right." They walked in comfortable silence for a while. The village quiet around them as they neared their home. Ekene stopped and turned to face her. "Adaora," he began, his voice serious. "I know I have said this before, but I need you to know how much I appreciate you. I wouldn't be the man I am today without you. You have made me better." Adaora felt tears prick her eyes, but they were tears of joy and happiness. "And I wouldn't be the woman I am today without you, Ekene. We have made each other better." They embraced, standing in the fading light of the evening, knowing that whatever challenges come their way, they would face them together. Life seemed to be settling into a peaceful rhyme when something unexpected happened. One morning, Adaora felt unusually tired. She brushed it off, thinking it was just the demands of daily life catching up with her. But as the days passed, she began to notice other signs. A nauseousness in the morning, a certain heaviness in her body. Could it be? Adaora hadn't even considered the possibility, but as the symptoms continued, she knew she had to face the truth. One afternoon, she went to the village nurse, who confirmed what she had begun to suspect. She was pregnant. Adaora was stunned. She and Ekene hadn't planned for another child. They were just getting back on their feet after all the trauma. How would this change things? That evening, as they sat together after dinner, Adaora took a deep breath and told Ekene the news. "Ekene," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. I went to see the nurse today. She told me something. I'm pregnant. Ekene's eye widened in surprise, and for a moment he was speechless. Then a slow smile spread across his face. We are having another baby? Adaora nodded, unsure of how he would feel. Yes, I know it's unexpected, and with everything we have been through. Ekene interrupted her, his voice filled with excitement. Adaora, this is amazing. Another child, another blessing. I couldn't be happier. Adaora felt her heart swell with relief and joy. You are really happy? Of course I am, Ekene said, pulling her into an embrace. This is our chance to keep building the family we have always wanted. And just like that, the unexpected news began a new source of hope and happiness for both of them.